Happy to be joined this afternoon by Marc LaBelle from Dirty Honey. And at some point, John may join us dealing with some technical issues. But Marc, I wanted to start. We'll talk a lot about the new album because that's obviously a big deal because the album's been out for a little over a week now. But how does it feel? You know, you have this labor of love, this thing that you've been working on for so long. How does it feel to finally have that debut album, the debut LP out there in the hands of your fans or in their ears or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, on their in their links on their iMessage or whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty exciting. You know, it's a weird time. Like you're hearing all this excitement on social media and in the press and stuff, but at the same time, you're not feeling that momentum and that interpersonal like energy that you would normally feel because we'd normally be on tour right now, you know, doing our thing. So. But yeah, nonetheless, it is exciting. And I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic that everybody's optimistic about, that we can get back to shows and, you know, whatever the new norm is going to be.
I have to imagine it's tough. I mean, especially with this being your debut album and then not being able to go out and play these songs in front of people and kind of gauge, okay, we put the album out, people have listened to it, people have enjoyed it. Now let's go see what songs work live.
Yeah. And, you know, quite honestly, it's funny you mentioned that because we like to sort of do that in reverse as well. We like to play the songs live for an audience before we even record them and sort of get a gauge on where they're at, see the reactions on their faces when you play something brand new. And we got to do that with about half the record before, you know, the pandemic hit. And the other half was kind of completely birthed out of, you know, pandemic writing. So we didn't get that opportunity to play them live before recording. But in any case, you know, we came up with some great material in both situations, but I'm definitely dying to play all of it live.
Yeah, I imagine it. John, welcome. I'm glad that we were able to get this all figured out.
Apologies. I've been having some internet woes today and I just, I really, that's not an excuse. A few interviews ago, I was just talking and everyone didn't even know I was talking. So,
well, I can hear you. I can see you. I think we've got it all figured out.
All right, cool. Sorry about that.
You're all good, man. You know, talking about the new album before we talk more about the debut album, I want to ask about the EP and talk a little bit about those first couple of years. I know I've interviewed a lot of bands over the years. I don't know if I've ever interviewed somebody who's like first song as an unsigned. I know I haven't because you guys are the first to do it. First unsigned band, first song goes number one. What's that feeling like, John, that the first thing you put out there, the first thing that, you know, radio stations are playing, the first thing that people maybe are hearing ends up being a number one song? It
was just the ultimate validation, you know, and we were, you know, head down, nose to the grindstone during that whole period and that whole rise. So, it was probably a good thing that we weren't over focused on it, but just keeping tabs on it, of course, and you know, talking with management daily while we're out there grinding. But yeah, it was just the ultimate validation, and it was just a big win, you know, and it was a celebration all around, and then, you know, continue to move forward. Really, was what it felt like. But just to know that. Something we wrote without anyone else's help. And I really mean that. Like nobody, no producer or extra songwriter was courted to make it better. You know, that's our writing. So that's all the fuel you need, you know, the extra fuel that you need to know that you can do this.
Yeah, I have to imagine it feels really good when you look at, maybe not so much on the rock side of things, but even on the rock side of things, how many people now, how many bands, how many artists have 3 special guests and this person's playing drums and Travis Barker's involved somehow. And it seems like he's on everything. So to know that it's all you guys are the driving force behind it, nobody else helped out. It's got to feel really, really good.
It feels great. And you know, I'm very proud of that fact. And it's sort of like, you know, maybe the regular audiences aren't aware of how much what the scene might look like behind the curtain. But, behind the curtain, I have writer friends, and I'm sure this happens with Mark. They sometimes people hit us up on Instagram like, oh, I'm a writer and I want to write with you. You guys, and it's like, I'm really proud to confidently be like, we just don't need that right now. We're really, our engines are tuned well, and the fuel air. I'm going to bail on this racing analogy, but it's running great. It's running great right now.
Our songwriting assembly line is working much better than your brain at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mark, when that first single goes to number one, is that intimidating for you guys? Do you have those thoughts like, what if this doesn't, what if this is it? What if this doesn't happen again? I mean, you're confident in your songwriting, you're confident in your songs, but what if you go, what if this is it for us? What if this number one song is all we get?
I've been pretty adamant about day one, saying that what I really wanted out of this whole experience was just to get into a van with my boys and go play live all over the country, all over the world, whatever. And anything more than that would have been the cherry on top. Obviously, we're still motivated. I still have a ton I want to accomplish. We've gotten a ton of notoriety for what we're doing, and that's all amazing. But this is all icing on the cake for me. Everything else, and you certainly hope that you have success, of course. And but what we learn more than anything is that it's really hard work. Doing everything is the songwriting, the touring, the traveling, the promotion, of course. Like, nobody's not working hard, and if anybody isn't, they're not carrying their weight, and it's going to detriment the whole thing. So
yeah. So you guys have When I'm Gone, and then Rollin' Sevens comes out. Both go top 5. Both are big hits for you guys. You guys are riding high, getting ready to record the debut album. You've written it. You've kind of got everything ready to go. You're about to board a plane to go to Australia to record the new album. You're going to head off, and what did I not say? Australia? Did I say something else? I got a weird look, so I don't know.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, all right. I was nervous. So the pandemic hits. You guys can't go. You can't go anywhere. I imagine that had to be brutal to have all this momentum going your way, and then for it all to come to a screeching halt.
I mean, yes, of course. Nothing but a downer. I mean, everybody.
It sucked.
It sucked. And I think there was a period of time, of course, and probably everybody did this in everyone's life, where you thought like, okay, maybe it'll be a month, or it's a couple weeks, it's a month, it's a couple months. Okay, maybe we got the summer, So my real depression about it kicked in the summer, when I was like, this ain't coming back this fall. I don't care what anyone said. We're in this. This is way more than we thought. And the entire schedule is gone. That whole breakout year, I think, was going to be our real breakout year in terms of exposure, the scale, places we were going to go to, all gone. So it was like, oh. But I've said this all day, and the one child left became the only child and got all the attention was the album. So we really took that as our chance to make lemonade out of these lemons.
And Mark, you guys actually had some, it gave you some extra time to sort of maybe work on the songs a little bit more, maybe write some new stuff too, because now you had some extra time before you had to start working on this.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that definitely were birthed out of the pandemic. Another Last Time, No Warning, Gypsy, and the other stuff that we played live at shows before recording it got tweaked and improved. So yeah, it wasn't all bad. Certainly we would have loved to have been on tour and seeing Europe and Japan and Australia for the first times, but we ultimately made a much better record. So that's the one shining light out of all this.
And through the power of technology, you guys were able, John, to work with the producer that you wanted to work with anyway. I've talked to a few different bands who have recorded during the pandemic, and they were able to still record, even though like every guy was in a different place. Now that was different for you guys because you were all in one place, but your producer was in a different spot. But he was able to sort of work with you just like he would have had you all been in the same room.
Yeah, that's correct. He was. We used Zoom for visual confirmation, and then when we were in the recording the control room, we could talk to the computer. But when we were at our booths, we had our own little station just like this. I had a talkback mic, and we use this program called Listen To that runs as a plugin in Pro Tools, and it just sends everything we're recording straight to Nick in real time at that same quality level. So, and then he'd talk back and he'd be right in my headphones. So it was this experience plus recording, and it was seamless. And we knew we wouldn't do the other thing. We weren't going to do like, hey, we're all in different rooms across the country, mail each other parts. It just wouldn't. That wouldn't sound like a Dirty Honey record. That would be totally off brand, I think. So that was out. So it had to be some way of getting into the room for sure.
When they presented you with this idea that he was going to stay in Australia because that's what you guys had to do and you guys would be in California recording, what was your first thought? Did you think there's no way in hell this is going to work?
Well, yeah, actually you're right. Yeah. We were like, this is going to suck. it was pretty downer. Yeah, for sure. But we did some pre-pro and tested out all the technology. And I think, Mark, if I remember, it didn't even work that well. So we were still like, is this going to be great?
It was terrible. It was so terrible.
Yeah, because we were at like this rehearsal space and it was like bad internet. And we're like, oh, we lost him. We're like, is this going to happen? Like, we can't lose the producer, But, there was a bit of a leap of faith. And it worked out. And I think in the very last couple weeks, we did a second pre-production run at my house studio, and it worked better. So we just believed that we were just like, listen, we're going to get in there. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. And that's kind of how we've done the whole thing. That during 2019, when labels either made really bad offers or said no, whatever it was, I remember Didia's, our manager, Mark Didia's thing was like, let's just do it and figure out how to pay for it later. And that's just kind of been the motto with everything. We're just going to have
a little faith, in yourself, and that'll go a long way.
So the album's first single is California Dreamin. Is it true that was the last song you guys wrote? That was the last song that you guys put together for the album?
The last or the second to last. The Morning and California Dreamin kind of came together in similar ways. Lyrically, California Dreamin was done before The Morning, but certainly it was the last idea that John presented to all of us that we were all pumped about, and it all came together really quickly. But yeah, that tends to happen a lot, I feel like, with successful records. The last one is like the magical one.
And then Justin pointed out, our bass player, that because we had basically only rehearsed it for a week, like the arrangement that it was going to be, when we went into the studio, there was this energy to it of unfamiliarity, and you're excited when it's going well, whereas maybe say like The Wire, for example, was just on lock. Like it was probably one of the few solos that I knew note for note going into it, which it is kind of rare. I like the experience to be a little bit more like there's going to be some improv in there that I will then stick with. But really, so the California Dreamin thing was a little bit of a fluke. I was testing the Listen To with Nick on my home thing, and the last phase, he was like, okay, just put something in Pro Tools and play it so I can see if it's transmitting. And that computer happened to have the demo, just the instrumental demo of California Dreamin, which was called, I think Mark named it Sludge Rock, which is, he's like, it's sludgy, man. And I had done it a while ago, and Mark was already like way into it, but had just sort of fallen behind. And so I just put that in there. And I remember I'm playing it, and Nick's like, okay, we're working. And then he was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to make the record. It's definitely Mark's excited. And then he was like, oh, we got to do this. And then he kind of like brought it back to our focus. And Mark had already written the chorus, and I forgot. because I just totally forgot that part. Nick was like, "Did Mark write to this?" I was like, "No, he didn't write anything yet. I don't know." And then it was pretty funny. And then Mark was like, "No, I have a chorus." And so then it just was like, "Oh, well, dude, let's do this." So
it's interesting to me that whenever I talk to bands about, the first single or the hit song or whatever, it goes one of two ways. Either it's one of the first things they write and they know right away, like, this is a hit, this is going to be it. Or it's the last song. Maybe it's not even going to be on the album. It's maybe a throwaway track that they just, who knows? And that ends up being like the biggest hit for them. And it sort of sounds like that for you guys too. Like this was sort of a lightning in a bottle moment where you just grabbed it and put it in Pro Tools. The producer hears it, and it turns out to be like, once everything is said and done, that's it. That's the song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I not at all to toot my own horn, but I do think I have a pretty good grasp on the things that'll actually make it to the finish line. Not necessarily whether or not they're a hit, but the things that are really in the spirit of the band. And more than anything, I think it just comes from, can I picture John playing something on guitar on stage and having fun doing it? And that's a big key, because it just visually, I've written things and sent him his way before, and we've performed them as a band, and he'll turn to me and be like, I don't know what to do with my body to this.
Yeah, I don't know how to see. I'm just
standing. What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands.
I'm like,
So, whenever you write something or working on something, I kind of look to Justin will perform to anything, because he's like a Tasmanian devil, but John is the more thoughtful approach to the performance or something.
He'll I'm very proud though that I wrote this riff called Break You. Well, I didn't call it that. It's just a riff number 236. But I'm very proud that when Justin performs it, when I watch him, I'm convinced he wrote it. Like, he just literally almost breaks. It's like second song of the set. He almost breaks his body and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, I got my friend off. I'm pumped about that.
It has to feel good to see your bandmates like be as into something as you are that you wrote, because
he's more into it.
Right.
And I love it, but he's just like gonna kill people.
I'm sure there are bands with guys that have songs that like the other band members are not interested in playing. They have no interest in playing the song that was written, whatever. So to be able to look over, to your left, to your right, and see him going nuts playing the riff that you wrote, it's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's awesome.
Now, if you're a rock fan, if you're a music fan in general, I think that there's something for everybody on your debut album. As I listen to it, there's the classic rock vibe. There's the blues vibe. There's songs where, Mark, you get to show off you show off your vocals on every song, but there's songs where you're a little more subdued, and then you really let it go. Obviously the musicianship on songs is, amazing as well. How important is it for you guys to be able to sort of highlight different influences, as opposed to maybe every sort of song sounds the same? You still know it's a Dirty Honey song, but you guys have these different influences that you're able to work in that not every band is able to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think that was somewhat accidental. We all found our voices, whether it's my voice or John's voice through the guitar and Corey's voice through the drums and Justin through the bass. We all sort of found our way personally through our instruments. And when those things all come together, it creates this new thing. And, we certainly have influences. We're not scared to show them. We're proud of them. We're proud of our musical taste, of course. But it's certainly not intentional to go in and be like, I don't think there's a song really where I can put my finger on that's one thing ever. There's just so many influences, getting put into something by the time it gets to the end of the songwriting process that it's almost impossible to just have one. And
it's become sort of the excitement along the trail of a song is when every song kind of starts with kind of one, you can tell with the influence, but you start to really know you're getting somewhere when like the green light goes off and you're like, oh, but then the chorus will be more like this vibe. Like, so if you have an AC/DC kind of riff, you end up with a something that reminds you of Aerosmith, and then we feel like we're onto something. And if you have that, then you're free for the rest of it to also start including other things. And you develop this language of every song gets the green light when like it kind of passes through influences rather than, okay, this is just one band influence. You know, like Scars is like a Tom Morello type riff. But when I got to the solo, it just screamed like, I want to do it like Hendrix-ish. You know, I want to use the Univibe. Like just those types of things, you know.
So you guys are starting to roll out some shows. You're going to be playing, hopefully, assuming all goes well and numbers continue to go down and shows are able to happen. It seems like they will be. From the new record, what song are you guys looking forward most to playing live? Because up to this point, you played a few, but not all of them. Is there one song from the album that you're looking forward to playing in front of people the most?
Coffee.
I'm honestly, there's probably not one that I could pick off that I'm most excited. I'm genuinely excited about playing the entire record. We had this conversation the other day about what are we going to play? What's our set list going to be? Blah, blah, blah. And John was like, let's just play the whole record. Why wouldn't we? It's awesome. Like, let's just play the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. Especially if we're headlining. It's like, what are you going to leave out?
Yeah, right. When you guys are able to play those shows, what do you think like that first show back is going to be like to be able to finally get, you guys have been off the road now for a year and a half.
Plus,
What's that first show going to feel like for you guys to be able to be back on stage?
It'll be
Elation.
Emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Elation, emotion.
Full of gratitude to even be doing it. It'll be very special and I genuinely can't wait to do it.
Yeah. I think gratitude is going to be an especially potent aspect to this return next phase. I think the first phase was giddiness and excitement and also just sort of a wow, is this really happening finally, and then is the hard work paying off? Wow, it is. That whole feeling. But now that it got removed, it's gratitude.
And it's important to just continue to work hard. If you really want to make a lifelong career out of it, you gotta do the work in the songwriting process and obviously touring, of course. But it's all about doing the work. If you really work hard, good things will come. I'm definitely confident in that now. I wasn't before, but I am now.
Yeah.
I think that there are probably a lot of people that would have been in your situation where you're experiencing these highs. You've got all this momentum and then it all comes crashing down because of a pandemic. I'm sure there are a lot of people that may have looked at that and saw that as maybe a sign like, okay, maybe we shouldn't, maybe this is our indication that we shouldn't go forward. Or maybe we had a good run there for a couple of months or a year or whatever, but who knows? People could forget about us when this is all said and done. So to see you guys continue to power through it, you've got the album out now and those shows are coming back around. It's going to sound super cliche, but it's like a rebirth almost of, okay, we get to go back out and do it all over again and sort of reintroduce ourselves again.
I mean, our manager says all the time, we're going back to boot camp when that first tour comes around. So, I've never been more excited to go to boot camp. I can tell you that.
We got to do boot camp twice. Listen, I say I've shown up to jobs that I hate way more early in the morning. So I'll take this one any day of the week. To your point, throughout the pandemic, one of the things that was for me personally was a motivator other than, what do I want to achieve before we leave this earth? Our team stayed totally motivated. We never missed like a weekly meeting, even during the biggest drought period of like, there's nothing to post and what's going on. We still did our call every week. So our team stayed, there was no indication that people were giving up ever. So that was really great.
Yeah. And Matthew, when we were in the midst of it all, we were, doing what we could to make cash. We were trimming weed at this dispensary. Like it was absolutely miserable. And I remember I just hit rock bottom at the gig, the trimming gig. And I was with John and I was like, I can't do this. I just can't do this, man. This is not how I'm supposed to be spending my time. I don't care if I have to eat ramen for the next year and drink water and live on nothing. I'm leaving today. I'm going home and I'm playing guitar because the important thing is
to write lyrics,
music.
Actually.
Well, that's it. But yeah, just write music. I'm going to be a lot better off on the other end of this thing if I come out with better songs than if I have, a couple $1,000s in my bank account.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw this idea out there. Once you guys start doing shows again, knowing that you have experience trimming pot, what about, when you come to like make radio station appearances and stuff, like instead of doing like we've done the acoustic performance and we've done bowling with the band, what if you give lessons on how to trim properly and help out, in a state like Michigan where weed is legal now,
dude,
maybe help some people out.
I really could, to be quite honest.
I definitely could. I could at this point. I don't want to, but I could.
Yeah,
perfect.
I mean, if I have
some alcohol wipes nearby.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If the radio station puts us into power rotation, I'll teach anyone anything.
Guys, I am looking forward to seeing you back out on the road soon. I appreciate you taking some time to do this, and hopefully sometime soon you'll be in Saginaw showing people how to trim weed.
Heck yeah.
Oh man, I don't want to trim weed ever again. That is
it's horrible. It's so miserable.
I'll do it for a minute. I'll do it for a minute for you, but I have other plans.
It's not fun.
All right, we'll do that, and then you guys can play a couple songs or something.
Yeah, one of those things.
All right, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Matthew. We'll see you soon, man. Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys
later.
Cheers.
See ya.